Your next 10 linear years will be as such a huge transitionary period. Now as such, looking at your linear time construct, you will as such start the journey going down really, let us say, a rocky road. The next 10 years will be as such the 10 years of upheaval. It will be a stark change. And we are as such looking at what you call your country, or almost your smaller continent called China, because it is so vast. And we feel that within the next 10 years, China will go through a complete, utter social collapse. People will be taking to the streets. People will as such rise against the government. And as such, your government, globally as well, will not be able to withstand the power and the voices of the people. What we're seeing is that really the next 10 years will also be huge years of earth changes. Yes, there will be further earthquakes. There will be as such changes within your weather. But at the same time, we see that there's going to be huge disclosures relating to your man-made weather. That as such, weather has been controlled through as such technology being left over and given by, let us say, extra-dimensional beings. Though we do not see as such a full disclosure with regards to extra-dimensional beings, so to speak. What we're seeing as well is an absolute revolution in technology. We see that people like Elon Musk will be funding multi-million projects of as such almost developing sci-fi technology. And we see there again, there will be as such, simplistically put, two movements. The ones that are embracing this very, very advanced technology. And we see here almost nanotechnology that can be implanted by 2030 into your physical vessels or bodies. And you can as such with that receive almost your Wi-Fi within your head, so to speak. This is already in the making, and we see as such quite a stark timeline where this might be possible. Now coming back to your country called China. As China will be as such collapsing, this will be as such a real deep learning curve for what you call your Western world. As China has and is as such enforcing 5G and later on 6G, maybe even 7. And this will bring about many, many health problems. It will bring about a health crisis. And this health crisis will actually help, so to speak, the West to retreat from it. Or as such, we see many people, many more taking to the streets and refusing to accept 5G or any such a different enhancements. We also see that within the next 10 years, the children born will be as such children that are incredibly advanced. And advanced, we mean that these are the children as such that will be far more aligned to what you term now your psychic abilities. These children will be born as such. It will be innate to them. But at the same time, we see other souls being incarnated here that still as such feel they want to engage into an agenda of service to self. And this will be a prevalent theme we see in the next 10 years. Also, looking at your medical practices, there will be some, let us say, really good, inverted commas, advancement within your medical establishment. Laser technology will replace the scalpel, and though you will still use very, let us say, rash and quite potent things like chemotherapy, though you will also introduce holistic arts within your medical establishments. There will be far many more what you term healers coming into your hospitals and, for example, healing burned victims, healing other things. And this we see will be quite a prevalent, let's say, positive change. But the main theme we see is that in the next 10 years, it is really upheaval. And with this, we do not wish to induce fear. It is as such this change that you have to go through. It is a restructuring, a deep restructuring, gradually moving away from this very heavy density you're finding yourselves in and you're resonating with. We also see that your urban centers will start to expand, but not in width, but more like high rises, where technology is very, very prevalent. Your urban centers will be very dense places, which in turn will again make certain pockets of people flee your cities and as such set up small pockets of self-sufficiency working together with Gaia. Your schooling system as such will stay the same in the next 10 years, except that many more people will be homeschooling. Also, we see that again in your linear time of 2030, you will again do a quantum leap. The next 10 years will be, let us say, your most catalyzing ones. They will be quite cathartic, so to speak, with, let us say, many calamities, many scandals and disclosures. All that has been hidden and under wraps will come to the surface, and it will enrage people. People will take to the streets. People will take to the streets and will start to put other structures into place. And by 2030, there's going to be a much calmer period as such. You really have to fasten your seatbelts now and be ready for the ride. Now, energetically, we see that there's going to be an increase in the Schumann resonance as your planetary consciousness, Gaia, is also shifting. Many will sense that keenly and they will feel this in a very uncomfortable way. There are others that don't feel this at all, but this is what they chose. And others that can really ride on that wave. What is most important is that between your linear years 2020 and 2030, there are deep significant changes within your societal structure, and people will want to take their power back. You will have certainly people like of the likes like Elon Musk pushing certain, let us say, different structures that almost embrace a futuristic feel, but we feel it's maybe not necessarily good as such for humanity as such, not at all. Again, we're saying there's not going to be a full disclosure with regards to extraterrestrial contact, but it will be far more accepted within the wider collective. Many more will, as such, come online, so to speak, energetically. Many more, as in your terms, will wake up. Many more will be dissatisfied with the current structures, and they will topple. There's going to be, by 2030, a much different feel once you have gone through this period of that is really cathartic. That we say it again, that you will realize that the weather has been modified, man-made, and things like chemtrailing will have by 2030 disappeared. But all of these different structures that have been put into place will come to the surface. That is the most important thing. Many will be incredulous and say this is impossible, that we've been sort of taken for this ride for so long. But then everybody has embraced certain belief systems, and these belief systems that you might term your old and worn out belief systems are going to topple. It will not be as such a rosy period. There will be looting, sometimes there will be, as the grids are failing, and by 2030 you will have started to seek really different energy sources, and within the next 10 years this will be the case. We don't want to make this too long. This, as such, just me for the moment, is sort of quite a sort of a loose channeling with me, also remote viewing with the help of my higher aspect. So I'm sort of forgetting what has been said. I'm just being shown and I'm seeing this. So to recap again, that what I've been shown now and I'm seeing is that the next 10 years will be possibly one of the most uncomfortable 10 years, and there's no beating around the bush. There will be many positive changes. There will certainly be an increase, at least in our construct, because when I say our construct, is the people that are drawn to listen to this, and the ones that are drawn to listen to other things will not be happening upon my channel. So I'm really, with the help of my higher aspect, looking at this. So the healing arts and all of that will become far more prevalent in the construct we're in here. But there's still going to be certain calamities. There will be definitely an increase in earthquakes. Gaia will be moving and shifting, and the Schumann resonance will spike more. And many will find this very uncomfortable. There will be many more that will be seeking alternative healers, shamans, whatever you have, and will be moving away from conventional medicine. Though I think what my high aspect or greater aspect was saying, that there will be changes in hospitals in our construct here. But many superpowers will start to topple. That is absolutely, definitely here, and I feel it, and I hear it, and I see it. Of many people, I hear so many voices that will say no to so many things. I know that sounds very vague, but there's going to be, for example, taxing system in Europe, I feel, is undergo a huge change, but it will be driven by the power of the people. For example, I feel Macron is really going to fall from grace. I mean, he has fallen from grace, and There will be a few more, but I feel that really the structures, I don't want to be too long, that are in place will not be standing for more than 2 seconds within the next decade. But I feel that the first 5 years will be also the worst. The ones where we really go through the mill, everything. That it first gets worse before it actually gets better. Because the current structures will try and cling on and like put us still in this straitjacket to keep us in these belief systems, in these even more intricate filling in online forms and confusing people so they don't react, etc., etc. Really like huge hurts of people giving up because they are sort of struggling between I'm looking at our older generations, between the change within the internet and having to do everything online, and it's just that friction I feel, and people, younger people getting really fed up. And also I feel our generation here, the ones that are between, let's say, 30 to 50, will be the ones also reacting and dragging along the younger generations. So I hope that was helpful, and well, hopefully my higher aspect hasn't sort of painted a too grim of a picture. So I love you so much, and I shall speak to you soon. Love you. Bye.
Hey everybody, it's Amanda Shertzer. I am doing another collaboration with Yara, and we are going to look at the next 10 years and sort of see if we can get a feel for how it's going to be. We didn't specify, I don't think, what exactly we're looking at, but I was just jotting down some notes, and I'm going to sort of look around for places of note, people of note, lifestyles, how they'll change over time, governments, how the governments will change, money, relationships, and the environment, or any like physical features on the world that might be different in the next 10 years. So I'm going to get in state, and I will be right back in a minute. Okay, so I was trying not to get anything for this next year, for 2020, because I normally put out a predictions video. But when I was looking at people of note, I guess I'll just repeat this in the 2021, but I'm getting info on the US election, and it doesn't look good. I mean, it's either one or the other of the worst options, like the status quo, corrupt, the committees or whatever, they're too traditional, too entrenched in the old. And honestly, it looks like Biden and Trump. I mean, obviously it's going to be Trump, but and it looks like there's somebody coming up that you wouldn't expect to challenge that, but in the end, people are going to be really, upset that it's, it's one or the other choice we don't want. And I'm not meaning to offend anybody that supports Biden or Trump. It just looks like they're not going to be advocates for any meaningful change in 2020. Not in the way that we are hoping to make drastic changes, but it is going to motivate people like crazy to really go out locally and create change locally. And looking at the long term, there is some defining line, and I've seen this over and over when I try to look into the long-term future for people's personal readings. There's always a sort of like a defining line of before something happens and then after it's drastically different. And I'm not sure if that line is the event, because there's no information. There's just like, you see their timeline, and then there's like and then after it, it's like, it's shifted over and it's a completely different thing, completely different. So I'm seeing this looking at the next 10 years as well. So I'm seeing, like, we're going along, we're trying to create this change. We can't do it on a grand scale yet. We're trying, but it's just not, everything's still too entrenched in the old energy, still hanging out. But all this we're working for, there's so much momentum and power behind it on an energetic level that really shifts us after this, whatever this demarcation is that I keep talking about. There's some big thing right there, and I can't see what that looks like. It's just a line. And as soon as that line hits, everything after that is like, everything before it is typical, what we've been dealing with all this time. It's the same old. And then everything after it is just ease and there's no struggle after it. There's no trying to make something happen. It's just everything is. Let me take a look at people of note. It's funny because people of note, boom, there's Jesus, the traditional image of Jesus. What does that mean? I'm checking to see if it's somebody that, looks similar, has similar values. Like, what does that symbolically represent? The way we view Jesus is going to change. For those of us that are, light workers, starseeds, those that know about the Christ consciousness and embodying Christ consciousness, we already have changed our outlook. So maybe this is an indication that the masses will sort of embrace this Christ consciousness idea instead of objectifying the person Jesus and pinning all their, like, putting everything outward. They're maybe going to internalize it more. Places of note. There's this weird, weird. I'm just seeing a big swath across the not the southern US. It's not exactly across the middle of the US, just slightly below the middle. So I guess, the south, the southwest. Not sure if it goes all the way to the East Coast. Doesn't go all the way down into Florida, and it doesn't go all the way down into Texas or Mexico or anything. But there's this band of really happy people. Why are they all happy? They're cooperating. They're all connected somehow. I'm feeling a sense of cooperation. France just popped into my head. parts of Spain. Well, okay, now there's people all over Europe. It's not a big swath like in the US, but there's pockets of these same kind of people. They're happy, they're cooperating. So these are the awakened, I guess, more and more areas of the world that are going to improve greatly by this shift in consciousness. So living more like we want to live, like in a perfect world, in the new earth, or after the event, after the shift. These areas. What else? What other areas? Those aren't the exclusive only areas, but Iceland. My geography is not great, so Norway, Canada, parts of Canada, parts of Russia. There's a lot of Chinese who are ready. Some Korean. I mean, there's some everywhere. South Africa. Well, it's just all over the world, but it's not everyone in all the countries. It's certain areas, certain areas that there are enough awakened people willing to cooperate and share and make the change like they want it to be. There's enough areas that, this new earth sort of vibe is already going to be here. That's very soon. That's like in a couple, 3-4 years max. But I'm seeing like the end of next year, this 2021, 2022, there's going to be a lot of people already living new earth ways and creating sort of new earth ways here, That's a short time for so many to be awake and make a change that fast, change their communities and their ways of life that quickly in like a year. I'm trying to see whether we'll realize we're making a change that fast, or we'll have to look back and say, oh, look where we were, a year ago. And I feel like we're already in the middle of it. We just don't realize we're doing it. It won't be until we get to that point, and then we'll realize. Hold on. My headphones died. Yeah, it won't be until we get to a bigger majority where we see like mass changes, mass communities being this different way, that we will be able to look back and see where it started and where it really ramped up. And I feel like it's really ramped up right now, starting to ramp up right now. So big shift in consciousness has already started. We just can't see it because it started very slowly, but it's really picking up. It's really picking up speed. I don't make this too long. Can't see how long I've been going on. Okay. Places of note, people of note, lifestyles, government, money, relationships. See how our lives are going to be different. 10 years from now feels like outer space to me. Not that we're in outer space, but I mean, it might as well be a sci-fi movie, because it's so different. Again, I'm seeing our governments are not run by individuals or congresses or anything like that. Well, I mean, there's sort of a Congress, but it doesn't look anything like the ones we have now. It's a group of very heart-centered individuals, a group though. Let's see how many, there's about, I don't know, I'm guessing 10 or 12. They seem to have a lot more knowledge than we do now. It's like we have to have local people report to, a larger, like your city, and then your, local area, and then your state, and then the, region, and then it goes to the United States government. But I feel like somehow they already know. You don't need anybody to report to you. So this group of 10 or 12, it's men and women, different ages and races. They're just meeting to try to make the best choices for everyone. They are not power hungry. They are not corrupt. They are not looking out for their own best interest. Their only motivation for being on this council is they want to help everyone. They want everyone to be cared for and valued for their individual contributions. Schools are vastly different, thank goodness. Children are honored for their inherent gifts. They aren't made to, they aren't forced to study things that they have no interest in, just so they have. So from this future perspective, in 10 years, looking back at our system of making everybody learn a little bit of everything so they have a basic understanding of everything, that doesn't make sense to them. There's a holistic view of, there are enough people in the world that everyone is going to have a different interest and a different ability to specialize in. And it's this feeling of cooperation, so that if you need to know a part for something you're working on, then you ask this other person to collaborate, and there's no competition, and there's only cooperation. There's only a willingness to help others. And then the only issue would be figuring out how to collaborate, how to, we'll work with this person's schedule and this person's schedule to get it worked out. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of, well, there's fancier tech. I see, it's like iRobot. I see robots. They're not very human looking though. They're functional, but everything's very clean. Nothing's run down. So we still have, it's not like, we still have everything individual is honored. So we still have like the ability to make our whatever homes in the style we want, or, different interests, just like we have now, but it's not sort of based on, I need this to make me feel special, or I need this to entertain me because I feel, overwhelmed and I just need to forget about that for a while. It's more like, you get things because you're interested in them. Just like you wouldn't buy a book that you're not interested in just because everybody says, oh, this is the best book to have. You should have this book. And so you go out and you buy this book and you set it on yourself, or you try to read it even though you're not interested at all. There isn't any of that. There's no, I mean, I don't know who would do that. I wouldn't do that, but there's none of that. There's just everyone, like I said, is valued for their individual contribution and for their interests. I also don't see anybody sick. I don't see I'm looking for any handicaps. Handicaps being someone injured by an illness, like that can't, like if somebody had polio and they're in a wheelchair, or they've fallen and broken their legs. There isn't any of that because we don't have any of that in 10 years. 10 years, really? Maybe farther out than 10 years for eradicating all illness, but for the most part, I don't see any of that. We still seem to have aging. I still see older people. Sorry. That's just what I'm seeing. That's just based on the reading I'm taking right in this moment. Everything could change. Y'all know that. And I'm looking at the physical world. It does feel like people have had to move because of extreme weather. There's fires. I saw a long time ago a lot of people leaving North and Central California and the states that are bordering Canada to the, obviously to the north in the United States. And they're all sort of coming, well, it'd be this way from your point of view, but I'm looking at the map. They're coming from the northwest down, sort of just spreading out. A lot of people are having to migrate due to fires and droughts. Well, it just looks brown. I can't tell if it's drought or, it could be mudslides, I don't know. And I don't know what time. I mean, this is not something that's going to happen overnight. It's already happening. We've already got, so many people displaced for fires, volcanoes. I don't see any volcanoes in the U.S., but, well, Hawaii, of course. But that was something I saw a long time ago. But it does seem like, I don't know if that particular thing that I saw is still happening, or just in general. I'm seeing floods more. I'm seeing coastal regions flooding more. Extreme cold events to the north. And this is just the United States. I guess I should look in Europe. More cold in Europe. More weird things like tornadoes. Places don't get tornadoes getting tornadoes and stuff like that. Even hurricanes, even threat of hurricanes. Not that the hurricane would come right up in there, but but it does something to the weather patterns that really disturbs the usual flow of air and water temperatures. So there's still this before and after. And, when I look at a 10-year chunk, it used to be, 60% before and 40% after, but that line is moving closer to now. So it's not quite it changes. Like I look at it and it's 50%, and then I look at it and it's 30% and 50. It's like we haven't I don't know, the way they describe it, we haven't collapsed all the timelines. That's not how my people are describing it. I'm just saying that's how other people describe. We're narrowing the timelines. We're collapsing them down until we have the one, event timeline. But I feel like there's still a little variation in the timelines, so that it's still not we still don't know a date. We still don't have a date. We don't know when it's going to happen. But it does look like within the next 10 years for sure. But like I said, big improvement in the next year or two, definitely in the next 2 years, big improvement in how communities come together, how we create change, that just is going to snowball and just, so we're already working on that. The energy of it is, I'm guessing the energy that we're creating by trying to make this change happen ourselves is bringing that line closer to us. So, but honestly, in the end, it just feels like there's that defining moment, and it's a sure thing at this point. So we could just sit on our butts and not do anything now. Although the more we do, it does look like it comes closer. The more we try to make right now feel like after the event, or if we try to make right now feel like new earth times, then yeah, we bring that closer and closer. So I think I'm going to call it good for now. I don't know how long I've gone on. I'll do my 2020 predictions soon. I got to do it soon. It's December. So anyway, I hope that was interesting, and I guess we will see what happens. And I'm interested to see what Yara got. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.